I will deal with the new TMM regulations, which were published about now, it's 5 months ago. So perhaps an undeclared national state of disaster for some. On Wednesday, the 21st of December 2022, whilst we were all still doing Christmas shopping and getting ready for the festive season, these regulations or sub-regulations were published for commencements. That was 810.12b and 810.21b. And these, in a nutshell, in summary, required an employer at the mine to provide for so-called anti-collision systems and devices, with the purpose being of those devices, as per the regulations, to automatically retard or stop diesel-powered TMMs in relation to preventing potential collisions between TMMs and pedestrians in the one instance, and then TMMs and other TMMs in the other instance. The provision of such systems, and again, as I was just saying, there's no transitional period that was provided. So these regulations, as per the date of publication in the Government Gazette, immediately commenced. Again, these systems require certain TMMs where there is a significant risk of the collisions which I referred to implement such anti-collision systems or devices. The immediate commencement, so immediate compliance by an employer as defined in the Mine Health and Safety Act at a mine. And this created precarious position for some employers as far as immediate or foreseeable compliance is concerned. And again, also it's somewhat exacerbated by the degrees of approach or application and enforcement by the regulator from region to region. I've heard of instances where individual inspectors in certain regions have approached individual mines and gone for an inspection and requested information relating to their impending compliance. And then in other regions, I've also heard of joint meetings being held between employers and the regulator and the Minerals Council. But there doesn't seem to be a uniform approach as far as application enforcement is concerned.
We know that COVID-19 was declared a national disaster on the 15th of March 2020, carried on for about 2 years, and then it was revoked as a pandemic, being in this particular instance a national disaster, on the 5th of April 2022. So now the question is, what must we do now? Does it mean that suddenly after the revoking of the national disaster relating to coronavirus, we don't need to do anything, or what are the requirements that we must comply with? And a further reason why I address this is that on the 3rd of February 2023, there was a regulation issued in terms of which monkeypox was declared a notifiable disease. And then in that same regulation, the minister attached two tables, Table 1 and Table 2 of Annexure A, setting out the notifiable diseases. And coronavirus, COVID-19 was left out. Now, what does it mean? Does it mean that they've revoked it? My advice is report it in terms of Table 1. When it's diagnosed by the healthcare provider, report it straight away by telephone. And you will find, as I say, on the National Institute of Communicable Diseases on their website, you will find the telephone number, and then you must also report it electronically within 24 hours. And then, lastly, remember, this obligation is very, very important, because if a person fails to comply with the provision of the regulations, then the person is guilty of an offense and on conviction liable to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 10 years and or a fine determined by a court of law. So the amount of the fine will depend on the jurisdictional capacity of the court. Is it the magistrate court? Is it the regional court? Or is it the high court? So it is very serious. And of course, it's important that it be received very urgent and immediate attention when it occurs.
The focal point remains on a mine's risk assessment, actively reviewing the COVID-19 risk assessment, taking into account developments, taking into account governing legislation and requirements, reviewing the risk assessments, and then from there, mining houses are required to review their COP on the prevention and management of COVID-19, taking into account this correspondence by the Chief Inspector of Mines, directing towards amending the COP, and bringing the COPs up to date and in line with the current policies, national policies and directives dealing with COVID-19.